What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers post-game live. We are reacting to the Sixers' horrific defeat against the New York Knicks. Joining me, my man, Tiago. What's up, Tiago?
What's going on, Chris? Good to be back, talk about the Sixers, and what's a better game to come back to than this complete meltdown against the Knicks, who looked every bit as dead in the water in the first quarter, and then everything fell apart after that.
Yeah, also joining from Pick Swap Media, he is Sean Bernard. Check him out. Pick Swap Media, what's up, Sean?
Yeah, it feels good to be back. We've had a little bit of a layoff here, but yeah, now 2 games in the span of a week, that 21-point leads in the first half get evaporated and turned into a loss. So we saw the true kind of just Achilles heels of this team put on display tonight. So a good one to jump back into, I guess.
There's so much to break down. Starting off with that lead in the first quarter, the Sixers came out hot, 33-12 lead. You saw excellent ball movement, 9 assists on their first 11 buckets. Embiid was doing work down low. 7 of Embiid's first quarter points came at the line. And then, bam, man, whole bench lineup. Knicks go on a 17-0 run. Trez Harrell was like a negative 15 in like 3 freaking minutes. Let's start there because this is just same doc as the old doc. We just keep repeating, going in circles. When Joel Embiid is on the bench, what's the answer? And there really isn't one. I'll throw it to you, Tiago, first. Like, what was your reaction to that? And the Sixers never recovered.
Yeah, the answer is getting some backup players in here that know what the hell they're doing. And they have a week to get this guy in here on the building because I think we can all agree Trez is not the answer. And I don't even think Paul Reed is the answer as much as we all like Paul Reed. I think they have to get serious about that backup position and get somebody at the level like an Andre Drummond, right? I'm not saying Drummond should be the guy, but somebody who's capable enough of giving you 2-way minutes. You guys can talk more about Trez and the whole second unit lineup. I get the frustration with Doc. He has to play his backups. Now, should he be staggering him more? Absolutely. But you can't play Embiid and Harden 38, 40 minutes a game. So you need your backups to step in and give you some decent enough minutes that things don't fall apart. And I thought that one of the reasons why things fell apart tonight, I thought Maxi's play was awful offensively. I thought that he came in, he sat on the ball. He wasn't really attacking the lane. He was kind of sitting on the ball, dribbling the air out of the ball. I thought he wasn't aggressive. And I think, to make that all bench lineup somewhat work, you need offensive output because Trez is going to bleed defensive points. You know that. So for that to work, you need Max to take the bull by the horn and attack the paint, attack the lane, and create for others. And he did none of that in that second unit run. And I thought it was a huge reason why they couldn't keep up with New York. They turned a lot of those misses, a lot of those turnovers into easy buckets. And then from then on out, things kind of escalated. So I thought that, Trez is terrible. They have to get serious about that. But you need more from Maxi, man, when you're in that backup unit. You just need more from him, period.
Hold on. Right before I get to you, Sean, Steven says, I am seething right now. No reason to lose this game. Ruined his whole night. Just an awful and obvious athleticism differences in the lineups tonight, man. I'm hurt. I'm just bummed out, man. This team, man, like quick take, Sean, like we talked about this a lot on these post-game shows. Like, why aren't Sixers fans so heavily invested in the Sixers team? They're clicking on all cylinders at times. They're night and day at least the last month or so compared to seasons past. I thought Doc is coaching his best season yet for the Sixers, but the interest level is still down. I think this game encapsulated all of the reasons why Sixers fans are still so hesitant to invest fully into this one. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, and tonight was a perfect example of that. Like, they get up to the 21-point lead in the first quarter. The first couple minutes of this game went like picture perfect. Everything was clicking on all cylinders. The Harden full court passes were there, jumping out to that early lead, and everyone just can kind of feel it. You can see what's coming. You scroll through Twitter, you see all that. This is a 3-point loss. This is guaranteed to be a close game in the end, and that's how it turned out. And looking at the bench, Montrezl Harrell absolutely is not the answer, but he's also not the only issue here. And for Harrell specifically, the Montrezl Harrell experience has always been offensively he was good enough to make up for his defensive shortcomings, and he just has not been. He has no creation ability. He isn't a lob threat anymore, and like the lob threat thing used to be a significant part of his game, and we're also not pairing him with James Harden at all. So what is the point of that two-man combo if you're not going to stagger it? And I think that to me is the biggest thing that I want to see changed in this team is I don't think the Maxey off the bench experiment is working. I think come playoff time, you have to make sure that either Embiid or Harden are on the court the entire time, and that means Maxey becomes your secondary scorer alongside both those guys, and he can do that. He can play with either one, but I don't think having Maxey just run the show. I just don't think he's ready for that.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the plus minus scores between the starting lineup and the bench. Like, what's the bigger story here? Is the story that like the starters are going to play a bulk of the minutes in the playoffs and they're so good that we shouldn't be that concerned? Is that the big picture, or is the bench that bad? We're just again going in circles, and the backup big minutes are just eventually going to kill the Sixers at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that story where it's been the bench has been the issue so many times now, and like the Raptors year where we lost that is the one that always jumps into mind. Where I can't think of the plus minus off my head, but it would be like in 3 minutes, like the Sixers just absolutely sinking after Embiid like lifting them. So it's like as great as the offensive unit looks, like you have to be prepared for this. These guys can't play all 48, and there just isn't an answer on roster right now, and something needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that you can't really look at this game and make any playoff projections out of it because you expect Harden to play more. I will say this, that when you have Shake and Maxey go something like a minus 50 together or close to it, you just can't have that, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up playing Harden 40 minutes a game from now until the postseason. And that is a recipe for postseason disaster, because we know that doesn't work with Harden. Like, you need his legs healthy and ready to play. So Maxey, Shake, you need better production from them on the court so you can preserve Harden a little bit. And to Sean's point, yeah, he should be playing Trez with Harden a little bit more and playing Harden with Maxey a little bit more so he alleviates some of Maxey's workloads. But it seems like Doc is very set on the all bench lineup. And as we've seen for multiple years now, it just doesn't work, period.
But why are we still going to it, Thiago? Like, there's so much evidence that it doesn't work.
Because I think it's an 82 game season. I'm trying to be kind to Doc in a way that I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, and it's an 82 game season. You can't have Embiid go out there for 38 minutes a night. And I get it. Like, maybe you stagger them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, I go back to Maxey, man. Like, you're being referred to as a third level star player on this team, right? I mean, that's the way that people portray him on this team. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's made stride in his career, absolutely. So when you get the opportunity to perform like a star, do it. And he didn't tonight, and he hasn't done it as a bench unit, like Sean said, for a while now. So yes, you have to play hard a little bit more, but you also have to preserve these guys for the postseason. It's a little bit like a treading the fine water here with Doc. But yeah, it's not going to work with the guys he has in the court, and we saw it again tonight.
Yep. Dodo says, how good is Tyrese Maxey if he can't play without the starters? Any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different game when you're looked at as like the guy out there as far as what defenses are throwing at you, how you're circled. And I think Maxey has benefited throughout his career he obviously was a guy that brought himself on the map, but to some extent being like just not a guy circled. Like the Embiid and Harden are always going to be like higher prioritized coverage guys and what teams are paying attention to. So he can kind of get the matchups he wants or provide that kind of secondary burst. And even now, like what his best damage is still done in the fast break. Like the half court, he still isn't consistently finding ways enough to impose himself and make that positive impact. And like Shake playing alongside him he's taken strides as a playmaker, but he's a score first guy too. So it's not like he has anybody creating for him. And we've seen that Maxey's like a pretty pure shooting guard and a guy that wants not going to be playmaking for himself or others. So it's kind of a tough spot for him. And I'm really shifting towards, I would like him to have another quote unquote star on the team on the court with him to kind of take some pressure off and just open up everything for him.
what I don't understand is why does his usage rate go down when he's coming off the bench?
Because Doc thinks Shake is the all-star point guard.
That's the entire point, is to suck as much offensive output out of Maxey off the bench.
Yeah.
His usage rate goes from 26 to 23 between starting and coming off the bench.
I will say this though, it's a lot harder in practice because he's like 6'1". Like you see Harden get in the paint. He's bigger. He can see through guys. He can bounce off guys. He can play and make in the paint. Maxey struggles to see through guys in the paint. His vision is obstructed. He's obviously not as strong. His handle is not as tight. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds great in theory. You should be like, hey, just spread out and attack the paint. But you see more hesitation in this game that resets the shot clock and it stagnates the offense a little bit. So it's not as easy. But he should be more aggressive. There's no question, especially in the open court. Yeah,
absolutely. Steven says Maxey without Toby, Harden, and JoJo off the floor is not the answer. I really hope this is a game they learn. Before at Glenn's house, Tobias missing bunnies, man. That was weird tonight.
Yeah.
We've got a Knicks fan in the house. Big task at him. Welcome. Talk to them, Knicks. Steven says, what a scrub team. Auden Network says, Shake, Tease, Milton, Korkmaz, Reed Springer all need to be traded.
Who's left?
God. And, not much. The bench lineup could be better if Maxey added some play creation. That's exactly what we're talking about. We have I Love Weed in the house saying best player on the Sixers is Law Nation. Goat cow. I don't even know what that means.
That's the time they're talking up the Cowboys.
All right. And Sixers got beat by a scrub DNP from last night.
Fournier.
Wow.
Evan Fournier up there on the all-time Sixers killer list. It feels like
he always kills it. Always. Where do the Sixers go from here with the upcoming trade deadline? Like, what to you, Sean, is like their primary target if they have that opportunity?
I think if it's one thing, it's backup center. And I've for most of the season have prioritized saying like I would rather a wing than a backup center. And because I do think Tucker is going to be in a lot of regards like that guy when the rotations go. Tucker, who scored 10 points tonight. So first time or he hasn't been in double figures since Halloween. So at least we got that going for us, I guess. But yeah, I do think it's backup center. They got to find somebody to at least let them stay afloat a little more, and whatever assets they can kind of figure out and scrape together. It's got to be for an Andre Drummond. Maybe Isaiah Hartenstein stays and flips on a Sixers jersey. I would like that a lot. So something like that.
Tiago, any take?
So backup centers for me come in all forms of different shapes and sizes. And I think that, you can go down an Andre Drummond route and perhaps overpay a little bit for him. I would look for a bigger wing that can play backup center. So the name that's being thrown out there right now is Jared Vanderbilt from Utah. He's a guy who is about, I had to pull up his name before the thing. He's 6'9", 215 pounds. He plays about 30% of his possessions at center. Guy who can switch out on the perimeter, anchor a little bit in the interior of the defense. I'm not saying he's a great rim protector, but he can do different things on the court. And I think perhaps trading Paul Reed or putting a package around that for Jared Vanderbilt and keeping either Trez as an emergency alternative or getting somebody else as an emergency alternative. I think that's the play. But most importantly, I think that the Sixers need to get bigger on the wing, because we may touch on it, like their rebounding and their weak side help when guys like Melton and PJ Tucker on the court is non-sustainable. It's just not sustainable. So they need to figure out a way to get bigger there as well.
Yeah. All right. That's a whole conversation. I don't really want to go down that road. Sean, any other takes on this game before we go into player of the game?
DeAnthony Melton started off awesome. I felt like he got a little lost defensively tonight, more so than I usually see from him. Like I think they were trying to blitz and just force turnovers like crazy, but there were a couple times where he was super overhelping in a way that like I am not accustomed to seeing from him, and that kind of stuck out to me tonight. So something a little weird from that. They need Melton to be the real deal. They need him to be a high level producer every single night for this team to function the way it's supposed to. And another guy that Georges Niang, when he is bad, he is bad.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, that's it.
he
Yeah.
brutal night tonight from Niang. I think he was 0 for 4 from 3, 0 for 5 from the field. Defensively is never really bringing anything particularly there. So the Sixers also are pretty reliant on Niang. So I guess it's another takeaway from tonight is just like they're counting on some of these guys kind of for a lot. And for guys that maybe have played above their talent level a little bit throughout this year, it's like we can't kind of have that come down to earth. And I think that was shown tonight too.
Thiago, I asked you that question like over a month ago, is because when Niang is hitting those threes, it's nice, it's fun, and things like that. But the question was, do they rely too much on a guy like Georges Niang when we pretty much know the book and know what to expect, especially with a guy we've learned that less is more with Georges Niang. And here he was 0 of 4 in this one, didn't really give them anything. Thiago, any other takes on this game?
Yeah, I think he's critical to what they want to get done offensively around Embiid and Harden. So when I see him out there with Maxey and Shake, I think he gets a little bit lost in all that traffic. He's a guy you spot up around Joel and Harden in that spread pick and roll, right? And you make the defense make very difficult decisions around who they want to defend. And I think that's primarily where his asset is as a player. So I like to see him play a little bit more with those two, because when he's around those two, the output offensively is incredible. I mean, you're talking about 130 plus points per possession, per 100 possessions, which is absurdly dominant. So yeah, when he's out there running with a bench unit, it seems a little bit chaotic. So yeah, I think he does have obviously a role in this team. Could they find a guy who can provide the same level of output offensively and not be a defensive liability? Yes, but those guys are very hard to find. So I still think they should play him, but perhaps play him more alongside Joel and Harden, because I think that's really where his asset for the team lies.
Any quick thoughts on Nerlens Noel?
Yeah, I would. There's rumors of him getting bought out. I would love Nerlens on a buyout. That would be I'd be very happy with that. He's not like the fix everything kind of guy. I think he's better. I kind of put him in the Drummond kind of category, where he's definitely better than what they have right now. I don't know if he's the answer. I probably prefer him a little bit to Drummond, just because he's lob threat, decent shot blocker. But a lot of this is also like usage. Like I'm getting more frustrated in like the non-staggering of Harden. Like I think Harden can make pretty much any backup center look very good, but he's only playing with Joel. So it's like we're not really taking advantage of that, I feel. But the short answer is yes, I would take Noel.
Speaking of backup bigs, did you see that? We got to see some pick and roll with Paul Reed tonight. That was something.
Yeah, scored.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. The one possession they ran with Paul Reed, it was like slam dunk.
Patrick Bernard's in the house saying, "What's good, homies? What's going on, man?" We can't defend small guards. Quentin says the next Boston game will tell us where we really are. Steven says Niang was hurt for playoffs last year, but his athleticism ain't that playoff worthy. I hope I am wrong. I know where I am tonight, not getting laid. Oh, man.
Can I make a point about that Boston game? Just to wrap
man.
up, because it is a critical game. I do hope that the Sixers get a healthy Boston team. I think Marcus Smart would be out, I think, but I think it's a test for the Sixers, and I think it's a test primarily for James Harden, because you're starting to see a little bit more regression in the aggression as a scorer. So I think it's a third straight game where he attempted 10 or 11 shots. He was averaging something around 15, 16 in the previous months. And man, I mean, the playmaking is great, but there comes a time when you got to deliver as a scorer. And I thought that tonight he could have been one of those games where he could have taken a little bit more assertiveness as a scorer. So Boston, they don't play around. Like, they're not going to give you that spread middle pick and roll with Joel. They're not. They're going to make it turn. Be like, hey, man, can you score? I mean, they're going to make it as simple as that against the Sixers tonight. And if Harden does not attack as a scorer in the pick and roll, they will eliminate the Sixers offense. So I want to see Harden be a little bit more aggressive against Boston and deliver, because they need him, man. And like I said, I mean, he's a big part of what they need going into the playoffs. And last 2 or 3 games, I just think that we haven't really seen anything close to the Harden score that we want.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what goes around Joel Embiid's brain when he's sitting on the bench and watching every single lead just dwindle every time. And I'd love to know what he's thinking.
He's thinking Dallas is looking good right now if I want to do that third star. Just joking. He's not thinking that.
Nick Sirianni owns Arizona, says, have the Sixers won a championship? No. All right. Who's your player of the game, Diaco?
My player of the game tonight? Good question. I'll give it to PJ, man. I'm not gonna say that very often here. So I thought PJ for the most part delivered on the goods. I can't complain about his game tonight, even though I do think, I know he looks very slow moving laterally. Julius Randle took him on a few times, but I thought that he played a pretty good game.
What about you, Sean?
I'm moving on to the team. I think PJ Tucker has been better since he got rid of the undershirt. So I don't know if that'll hold him back.
Yes.
I don't know exactly why, but since he's gone with the sleeveless, with no undershirt, I've seen a little bit of improvement. So let's keep that going. I'm struggling to find anybody on this Sixers team. I'm going to have to give it to Evan Fournier as my player of the game.
That's a good one.
Went down just about the whole roster and don't feel great about any of the names. So, yeah, I'm throwing it to Evan Fournier.
Chris has no player of the game right now.
Yeah.
Melton had a couple of moments. Screw it. It's Super Bowl week. I'm giving it to Howie. Howie Roseman gets my player of the game.
Well, let's wait for the Super Bowl.
I'm bummed out tonight, man. This one was draining.
Yeah.
Quinn says, "Who won the Kyrie trade? The Nets." I guess I would have
disagree.
Yeah, I think it's the Mavs.
I think
really?
the Mavs won. No, 100%.
I'm kind of higher on it for the Mavs than I think the general consensus is, because they needed somebody to do other things. They miss Brunson a ton, and Brunson, who's an underrated player, he was very good tonight too. And the worst case scenario is Kyrie's a free agent at the end of this year, so they didn't give up enough that they're risking the franchise, and it's let's try this out, let's see if it works. We're showing Luka that we're trying here, and they're both very gifted offensively, and a pretty isolation-based offense anyway. I think he'll fit in there, and as long as he can care a little bit, I could see it at least it raised their ceiling and gives them a chance at contending for a title.
Yeah, I mean, look at the teams that have 2 isolation scorers. It's the Sixers, the Mavs, and maybe the Lakers. That's it. Not many teams have 2 guys who can just devour you in isolation. So I like it. I like it for Dallas a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not a Kyrie fan whatsoever. I don't like it. Any move getting Kyrie Irving, I'm out. Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I'll throw it to you, Sean. Plugs, time is yours, man.
Yeah, you guys can appreciate everyone for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out Pick Swap Media for all the Sixers podcast and NBA podcast stuff. I'm going to do some stuff on the Kyrie and trade deadline stuff coming up tomorrow. So be on the watch for that. And yeah, thank you.
What about you, Tiago?
Chris is starting writing an article about Georges Niang, and then the last week happened. And I was I'm gonna wait for him to do something again.
It's not on Bible. Bible literally had a great couple of weeks here, and it's not on Bible. It's on Niang.
I am done screaming about Bible. The Sixers, they're going to trade him for absolutely nothing, probably. And we're all going to be sitting here in May wondering why they can't generate turnovers in the postseason and why they're one wing defender short in the postseason. So I'm just going to wait for that time to come. So
they're going to run into the same problem in the same round of this, whatever. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Quinn says, I don't trust Kyrie, but we'll see. Thibs, our coaches. Glenn tonight. Out coaches Glenn tonight. Got it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, defeating loss. I'm bummed out. That was a tough game to watch. Tough pill to swallow, this one. The Sixers were on cruise control in the first, just went down the drain. Quarters 2 through 4. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe wherever you're watching. Follow my man down there down there at Sean _Bernard1. Over there, my man Tiago at Tiago PHL, Pick Swap Media. Tiago, one of the best Sixers there is, period. And of course, Sean crushes it there on that Twitter thing. We'll see you on the next post game for Tiago, for Sean, for myself. What's up, Tiago?
If you are gonna follow me, please don't yell at me because I will just block you. So a lot of people yelling out there these days. Just let's have a good time. That's all.
No, it's one of those games where I'm just not going to be on Twitter after this at all.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. So we'll see you on the next post game for Tiago, for Sean, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.